The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera.
Oh, hello, hello. I am so glad that you're here with me today. I'm so excited about the guest that I have today. And her name is Miss Barbara Beckley. How you doing today? It's
Hey,
so good to
Queen.
see you. And
Yes,
let
yes,
me
yes,
tell
yes.
our audience a little bit about you, and then we're going to get started. Barbara J. Beckley is a professional keynote speaker, 7-time best-selling author, purpose strategist, and social media content strategist. She is the founder and CEO of the Diamond Factory, LLC, to empower women to understand their PPD, which is purpose, passion, and drive, especially women, to overcome their challenges so they can shine bright like a diamond in their business and personal life. Barbara's motto is because everyone has something special within them, the Diamond Factory as your foundation to encourage you to move despite the trials and challenges in your life. Barbara offers platforms for individuals to increase their exposure through one-on-one interviews, TV streaming show, the Diamond Factor Show with Barbara Beckley, and provides a social media signature program for a person to stand out in their Diamond Factor concerning their business platform. That is so awesome. And again, I am so glad that you're here. And I just want you to you talked about working with women who
Yeah.
are and have gone through trials and tribulations. And you can't teach what you don't know, and
Yeah.
you can't give what you don't have. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a journey that you went on to get to where you are today. So I would like for you to just share with the audience who Barbara Beckley is.
Wow. Well, first, thank you so much, Miss Queen Diamond. I always call the ladies Queen Diamonds because I think of them as royalty. Thank you so much for introducing me. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of stuff that I did. But it like Vera said, like the Queen said, it takes a journey, and it took a journey, and I had to go start way back, way back. Now I'm telling my age, when the age of between 8 and 9. And at that time, that's when I found out, when I thought, now I can say this now, that I didn't have any value in me. And how that happened was I was very, very heavily bullied when I was in grammar school. The kids used to always basically say I was stupid, I was ugly, I was fat, I wouldn't get anywhere. They didn't even understand why I was going to school. I mean, it was to that point where I told myself, I feel like an alien. I feel like I shouldn't even be on this planet. That's how bad it was, because they were just taunting me every day. But I always tell people, it takes those angels, those people in your life that will save you, the little droplets of just goodness that comes into your life to remind you and start reminding you of who you really are. So what happened was, when I was getting bullied that badly, there was one teacher that seen what was going on. And she took it upon herself. Now I really think about it, she took it upon herself to guide me and mentor me to get to understand who I was, that I was a wonderful, brilliant little girl at the time. But she mentioned I was a diamond in the rough. And that's where the diamond story began in my life, when the teacher basically told me, you're a diamond in the rough. You're just getting molded and shaped. All these little things are coming. So in my mind, Vera, I'm saying, okay, wait a minute. I don't like to cut and shape. I mean, I'm 7 years old and it hurts. It hurts. But when she said, because you're going to be this beautiful, wonderful diamond one day, and you're going to shine among the universe, and people are really going to get to know who you are, and you're going to help everybody else understand who they are. That's when it first started. I mean, that's the start of the journey. I mean, there's 2 other instances that they will say diamond in the rough in my life, but that was the first part of it. Yeah, you're on mute.
Thank you. Let's talk about that. It's amazing how one teacher can make the difference in a child's life. And it was my 5th grade teacher was that teacher for me, because like you and I have had the same kind of experiences.
I know.
And for you to talk about how you were bullied as a child and ridiculed and made fun of, and that's what brought you to where you are right now. It's amazing. We all have a story, but without those stories, we would not find our purpose. We would not find our passion. And so we go through those things and we wonder why me?
Why am I going through this?
God is preparing you.
Yes.
Preparing you for what you are to do to help change the world.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
Yes.
So I'd like for you to share a little bit about those other 2 experiences that impacted on your life.
Yeah. So first of all, it's awesome because that's why I love how the world works, because I'm just thinking about you and I. Because I know when you were on my show, I found out a lot of things that we were connected to. And I said, see, I'm not the only one. And that's why, again, just to say real quickly, like you said about stories, that's why it's so important to tell them, because you don't know who you can connect with, that you can collaborate with, and even maybe be business partners or your client or whatever. So yes, tell your stories. But just going back to the 2nd and 3rd time that the diamond in the rough came in my life. So when I went from grammar school, then, to high school. Wasn't that bad of bullying at the time, but I had in my mind. So this is where your mindset comes in at. And that's why words are so powerful.
Yes.
Is that those words kept seeping in even when I was going to high school. So my self-confidence and everything else was not good. But another angel, I told you, in my life, and that was my dad. From the age when I was getting bullied in grammar school till I, was going into high school, he would always tell me every day, Vera, that I was awesome. I was a princess. And he said, because you're a diamond in the rough. Now, when I heard that, first I was like, did you talk to my teacher? And I did ask him that. And he's like, no. He said, I see you as a diamond. You're just getting molded. You're just going through the process. He said, it's a process, Barbara. He used to explain that to me. He said, but I don't want you to ever think that while you're going through that process, that you're not worthy and that you're not valued. Well, what happened when he said that? I mean, he kept telling me that. But with the age of 17, my age of 17, he basically passed away. And he didn't pass away because of a sickness or illness. He passed away because he was murdered, unfortunately.
Oh.
And I'm
so sorry.
It was, you talking about a diamond. Well, he was my diamond. He was my rock in my life. And I felt like it just shattered. It just really shattered at that time. At the age of 17, I was about to graduate from high school. I was, trying to really just move and groove. And, after that happened, telling you, Vera, I just felt like my life just caved in. It just caved in. And I found out because my mother and dad at that time, they were separated, they were divorced. And we got the phone call from the police. So once that came through, and then my mother picked the phone and she told me, and my mother loved her dearly, but a different type of relationship we had. I call her Sergeant Beckley. She didn't take no mess. Especially from her only daughter, that she's like, I don't care what you do, you're going to do what you have to do, and you're going to do it better than, and how we are in those households where it says, you got to be better than the whatever. And she just pounded. So when she gave me the news, Vera, it wasn't like, oh, I had to sit you down. I had to let you know your dad, passed. They found him in his apartment and he was murdered. It wasn't like that. It was like, just to let you know, I just called the police and they found him dead in his apartment. I'm like, what?
Oh.
What? So even with that, Vera, I'm like, so I lost it. I closed the door in my room and I lost it to the point where they were scared I was going to commit suicide. They thought I was going to just let go of my life, which I was thinking about it. And they had to wind up calling the paramedics, taking me to the hospital. And then the third angel came in my life. Third angel. So I was in my room, laying there, just in a daze because they gave me some sedatives and stuff to calm me down. And a nurse walked in the room and she took my vitals and everything. And she's looking at me and she was like looking and looking. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, not really." I mean, in the back of my mind, like, why would you ask that question? You know what just happened here. But, sometimes people know what to say and how to say it. But at that time, I didn't think about that because I'm a teenager. I'm like, what are you talking about? So so I said, you know what? She's thinking I'm okay. People don't understand who I just lost. I'm just going to end this. So when she leaves out the room, I'm going to do what I have to do. I told myself at that time, Vera, I was just going to give my life up. But when she was about to walk out the door and she turned around and she said, "Something's telling me that you should not be thinking about what you're about to do." And she said, "I'm going to tell you, there's something in me that's telling me you are a diamond in the rough."
Oh my God.
And yes. And she said, "I don't know where it's coming from." She said, "I don't know where, I'm not even saying this to you, but I don't think the person that passed away would want you to end your life. You have a lot of things to do in this world."
Wow.
And when she said that, Vera, it's like my head and my heart just was like, and I'm sitting laying there. I'm just laying there, Vera, because I was like, okay, this is 3 times.
Three times.
3 times. So I was telling myself, I said, does a brick got to go upside my head? Does somebody have to really be like, "Barbara, you need to be doing something"? So yeah, so at that point in time, Vera, at the age of 17, I knew in my heart and my soul and my spirit that I needed to make sure, first of all, that I knew I had value. It just had to take some time. Second of all, especially for women, to make sure that they understand that they're a gem, that they're a diamond.
Yes. Yes. And
Yes.
oh my,
Yes.
thank God that you're here. Thank God you're here.
I would be talking to you right now if she didn't walk in that room. I mean, come
Right,
back.
exactly. And on top of that, when I think 3 times you were given that message, and each time it was someone that was not connected to the other person. That was the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
So, and those angels, I believe in angels. Lord knows, I believe in angels, and a lot of times they come and they go. They come just for the purpose of doing what they have to do for you.
Yes.
And then they disappear. And so thank God for the angels. Thank God for you. Thank God. Thank God. And so
I said, thank you. And I also
ahead.
say this too, because I think, we think of 3, I think of, we're talking spiritual, God,
Yes.
the Holy Spirit and Jesus. And I was like, wow, this is powerful. Because when the older I was getting, I keep thinking back to this, and I was like, he loved me that much. That's why I tell the women, I said, don't you know God loves you that much that he would send whoever to help you get to that next level, for you to say, no, don't give up. Don't do that. So yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my God. And so I know that even sometimes talking about these things can really, kind of make you think,
Yeah.
but I want you to know you are a diamond, and I just love you. I love your personality. you're so full of life. That who would have ever thought that you went through that? But God has you doing things to help lift and encourage and motivate and inspire other people. So tell us about the diamond factor.
So that's what brought me to that. So, we all have our trials and tribulations. As you know, I told you about two of them. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I also had where I was sexually abused when I was in my 20s. So that was another lift in my life, another, rocky thing. And then now I can say for 9 years now, it's 9 years, yeah, that I'm in remission of my cancer. I had uterus cancer and I had to have a hysterectomy done. So that part was another, and you think of all these things that are happening. And then sometimes people look at you and say, well, how do you sit there and smile and do things and want to help the world and all that kind of stuff, Barbara? I said, because there's a reason why it happened to me. Instead of saying, woe is me, why did it happen to me? You hear the old saying, well, why not? And, I think about that. I say, you know what? Now I treasure those certain aspects in my life, because if I can help bring that story into the front of people, and then they're able to get that and say, you know what, I'm connected, I understand, and then to give them hope.
Yes.
That's why I push and strive so much every day to do what I'm doing in my own business as the Diamond Factor, because I want to give people hope to say, whatever you're going through, I don't care what it is, you can do what you want to do in a positive manner and help others. So I called it the thing, the Diamond Factor, because the diamond in the rough kept coming up in my and I was like, okay, well, diamond, yeah, it gets shaped, it gets cut, it goes through all that journey of a diamond. And I'm like, we as people, especially as women, we go through that all the time. So I wanted to call, and I gave it my company, the Diamond Factor LLC, and that's the name of the company. Yeah.
And and again, the assault, we've experienced that together. I mean, it's like, oh my God,
it's like we're sisters from another mother.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So let me ask you now, you talked, have you now, tell me about personally, are you married? Do you have any children or any of that?
Well, and right now I am separated. I was married for 21 years and I'm going through a divorce, which a lot of people be like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Barbara. And I'm like, no, it's the other way around.
I can relate to that.
I'm just waiting for the paperwork to have that signature and say you are free. But that's not saying I don't believe. See, I say that, and then some people are like, well, you don't believe in marriage no more? You don't believe in No, that's not it. It was just the one that I was with the problem. I truly believe. So I want to put a disclaimer to tell everybody, I truly believe in marriage, and hopefully, after this hump, that God will bless me with a man that's going to be, right, and we're okay. But yeah, but I didn't have any children due to the fact that I was having so many complications, with female problems.
Yeah.
And then the cancer came, and then they had to wind up doing the hysterectomy. So I have no children. I have two godchildren that are I could say they're older. And one of my goddaughters, her name is Ayana. I love her to death. She has 6 children, so she made up for everybody.
Oh, she made it up.
She made up for her mother, who's my best friend, and me, and a bunch of other people. So,
oh my goodness!
But I love her dearly. Love her dearly.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And I know you've written 7 books.
Yeah, it's one book is mine, but the rest, it's collaboration books, but it's still a chapter in it. So I look at it as, as writing it. Because I was thinking, I said, shoot, I could take all those chapters and make another book.
I hear you, because by the end of next year, I would have had about 15 or 16 books as well. So I understand. I do. But isn't your journey exciting? Aren't you excited about what you do and how you impact lives?
Oh, you just don't know, Vera. You just don't know. I love seeing the aha moments, especially in women when they first discover. Because what I do, under the Diamond Factor LLC, there's 3 lanes I have. First, I teach and I do coaching on PPD, which Vera said before, as I call it the Purpose, Passion, and Drive signature program, that I really dig deep with women, because I don't want them just to be like, oh, well, I'll just go for this, or I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing, or I'm just here at this corporate job, and I want to stay here till whatever. And I will hear that. I hear a lot of those stories. I'm like, you are so much more than what you're saying. We just need to figure it out. So that's one thing I do. And then after what we find out all that, then that's where we make them shine. That's where I want to make the women shine. So that's why I have the platforms where I do the TV streaming show. I do the one-on-one interviews. I teach. I have a signature program now for social media for the biz queens. It's called Social Media Secrets for the Biz Queens. And you see everything. I got the queens in there.
Yeah.
Because I see, a royalty. So because I told myself, I said, I want, a diamond shines. It reflects. And when you think about a diamond, it reflects all over. It sparkles. People are like, they know all about it because they're like, ooh. So that's what I look at women to be. So you have to be that way in every area of your life. In social media, as we all know, now they got the clubhouse. I mean, it's just so much. And you want to make sure wherever you're at, that you're glowing, that you're shining, that you're sparkling, as I say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, let's talk about Clubhouse for a minute. Clubhouse is addicting. It is addicting.
Have a strategy. I keep telling the ladies, don't get caught up in that. And you're on there for 24 hours because I've seen a lot of people half and still doing it.
Yeah. And I had to give it a break for a minute because there were certain rooms that I was in and I would be in until 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So it's like, I can't continue to. So there's one called Mindset. And I want to talk about mindset a little bit. Because mindset is so important. People don't understand how people like you or me can go through all the traumas and experiences that we have and still have a certain mindset. Yeah. So I want you to just kind of share a little bit about mindset and some things that you did yourself to change the mindset of all those negative takes that you heard as a child and your experiences even as an adult. So if you could just kind of take some time and talk about mindset and give some tools of things that you did to help with your mindset.
Well, I know the first thing I had to do, especially after, I was getting bullied and my dad was there. So he was my anchor. He was my anchor because he was the one that was always reminding me who I really was, and what I was not what they were saying. So he was my anchor. And I want to say anchor because after he basically passed away, I felt like my anchor was gone, but it really wasn't gone. It was just spiritually, he was still there with me all the time. Yeah. So then I would tell other people that were going through different things. I said, no matter what's going on, and I say this a lot with the earthquakes and floods of life, because it's going to happen. It's going to hurt hard sometimes, really hard. And it's going to hurt to the point where you got to own it and feel upset about it or feel sad about it. See, one thing, people look at me and they said, do you ever cry? Do you ever scream? Are you ever upset? I'm like, yeah. In fact, I was upset an hour ago. But see, if you don't let it out and if you don't own it, and if you don't have that anchor that anchor to come back and say, this is going to take me back to where I need to be thinking about some positive. This anchor is going to take me back to where my purpose is. This anchor is going to take me back to, what I'm standing for, my values. So when you go back to the anchor, that's where the mindset comes in, and it switches you back in gear. And that's what happened. That's what I did all my life. So my anchor at the time was my dad until I started going to church more. And then my anchor basically is God and Jesus. But he's still there by my dad because I remember the thoughts and the things that he says to me. It says to me all the time, that he said to me all the time, and still in my mind, and he's there. So like you said, Vera, it is a mindset, but you have to find something that's going to get you back on that track and not lead you down the track that somebody wants you to take you to, or yourself. You could take yourself down the wrong track, and then you're lost, and you don't want to be lost in that sense.
Let's talk about taking ourselves to that mindset, because people don't understand our words are so important. Not only the words that we hear from others, but the words that we speak to ourselves. Yes. And there was another point that you made about if it doesn't come out, if you don't express it, it can impact on your health.
Yes, it has for me. It had for me. Yeah. Yeah. I
And
got real sick and I didn't understand why. And it was because, and it's funny because you said the words that we say, and sometimes the words we don't say will get you in trouble too. And I wasn't letting it out. I was thinking in my mind, I was going back to my child days and saying to myself, well, why am I trying to start a business? They told me I was stupid. Why? I mean, I'm not getting this, because some things take me a little while. Some things are quick. Some things are not quick. That's just part of life and you're learning. But see, in my mind, I kept going back. Well, they kept telling me I was stupid. So maybe that's why I'm not understanding this, or I'm not getting this, or I need to go, the steps on how to get a business. Oh my God, how do I do that? Well, Barbara, you ask questions. See, that's my other part talking me. Ask the questions, get the knowledge, you'll do it. But see, the other part of me was like, no, because I'm stupid. See, that's where that self-sabotage can come in at. And that's a battle. It could be a battle. And sometimes one part can win out the other. But that's when you have to go back to that anchor. That's when you have to go back to that anchor. Yeah.
yes, and you talked about Jesus being an anchor for you.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I don't know where I would be, if it wasn't
Again,
for
Vera,
the
say
Lord.
it again. Say it again.
I don't know where I would be if it wasn't
No.
for the Lord. And
Nope.
growing up, we used to sing those songs, take your burdens to the Lord and leave them there, but as a child, you don't understand
Yeah,
that stuff,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But when we get older and then we understand if we take them to Him,
Mm.
then why are we carrying them continually?
Yeah. You're
Anyway,
supposed to
you
leave. You're
know?
supposed to leave it there.
Leave it there. Let it go. And so, and even with the words that we say and understanding, I did some research and there's well over 100 scriptures related to self-esteem and confidence.
Mm.
Being able to identify those things even through the word. And
I
I'm
can
sure
understand.
you, that's your
Mhm.
anchor, that song, that anchor holds.
It
And it's
holds.
that solid rock.
Yeah, and it's fun. I love how you mentioned that about the words in the Bible, so many, and I could understand why there's so many scriptures in there because it is a mind frame. It's a mind. Yes, it's a state of mind,
Mm-hmm.
and God knew that the words are going to come to people in a negative way, so He needed to put life in the words that He has in the Bible to make sure when we read it, it comes lively in us, so we
Yes,
believe what that word is saying about us.
yes. And
Yes.
it's the living word.
Word. That's why it's called a living word.
It's living. I mean, what happened yesterday in the word can apply to today,
I keep telling
and
people that it's not that difficult, but
it's not.
yeah, it's not. It really is. But like you said, Vera, the things that we went, both of us went through our journeys, and let's going back to mindset again, what you mentioned. I've been adding something now because you hear everybody talking about it's your mindset. You got to change your mindset. You got to get down to your mindset. I mean, we hear that it's like in your head banging. And some people ask me, well, okay, it's a mindset, but how? I don't understand. And right now I'm in a negative state. I just don't feel it. And I said, you know why? Because if you're someone's going to tell you it's a mindset and they tell you, okay, you need to do this, do this, say your affirmations every day and everything. But then if it's not a heart set, then I don't care what a person says about your mind and what to do. If your heart's not in it, then it's going to be the same thing. You're going to go, you can get the same results. And that's, I don't feel it. I don't know what's going, because, it's more than just hearing the words and people telling you how to do it and how to have a mindset, a good positive mindset. So I say, have your mindset, have your heart set, those two together.
Yes, but
There's nobody
sometimes
stopping you.
that's so true. Sometimes, even if we don't believe what we're saying, if we keep saying it and then we see the evidence of what we've been saying, then that begins to help change the heart.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
you got to keep doing it
Yeah.
until you feel it. I mean, it's
Yes.
even like with reading the Bible and
Mm-hmm.
even praying. Even
Mm-hmm.
if you don't feel it, you keep doing it, and you're gonna see results
Yeah.
eventually. You
Yeah,
know,
because I mean, you got to start somewhere, like you said. You have to start. But that's why I do affirmations. I know you probably do too, and a lot of people
yeah,
I know doing the affirmations is good And I tell people, I said, but when that heart gets in there, when you really like, you can't go without it. See, that's when the heart is there all of a sudden. It's like, well, I can't go anywhere until I do my affirmations, or I can't do anywhere until I read a passage in the Bible. That's when that heart is pumping in that set. Now you got both of them together, and it's like you're just going after that. It's just like nobody can stop you. No, you may try it. You'd be like, nope. You can, you want to be upset today. You want to be pissed off today. Not in my field, not in my lane. I'm going to keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me ask you, this kind of is off the beaten path, but when you talk about heart set and you talk about the condition of our society, I mean, it's,
Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to take a pause on that. Yes.
I know we didn't talk about this. However, every chance I get, if we can say something that's going to help other people begin to understand and realize, a lot of times we're looking out here pointing our fingers, but it's about those three that are pointing back at us. So when we look at our counterparts and people that may not treat us the way we should be treated, what can you say, or that might, I know this, we didn't talk about this, but I trust you. I know you got something that you can share as it relates to this, because we are in a critical, pivotal point in this country right now.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that. And you're talking about like everything with the pandemic and then the Black Lives Matter. You're talking about all that, right? One thing that I always tell people is, no matter what's going on, like I said before, is that trust in you and what your beliefs and values are. I have friends, Black and white, good friends on both sides. I have my Black brothers and sisters, telling me sometimes when we talk, and they say, well, how can you, still like, the different other nationalities besides us? And they did this, and, then, they killed, they're doing this, and they're beating up our people. And then, on my white side friends, they're like, well, we're sorry. Some of them are like, we're sorry. Some like, well, certain things happen in life and it's been history. So, I look at both sides of the fence there, and I look at the bigger picture. I say, you know what? No matter what nationality it is, and I'm going to stand on this to the day I die, love has to come before anything. I don't care what color creed you are. And if somebody's wrong, they're wrong. And somebody's right, they're right. No matter what nationality it is. It could be my Black brother sister. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If it was white people, you're wrong too. If you're right, I want to be there when you're right as well. So that's what I tell them. I say, I don't go by color. I don't go by different religions. I go by, okay, if you're talking right, if you're loving, then I'm with you all the way. If you're a little off and you're a little negative, then we need to talk about it and come to Jesus meeting, as I call it. But the way it goes, love is going to conquer all. That's what it says all the time. And I think a lot of us in the world is forgetting about that. They're putting that to the side, and they're looking at all this noise. I call it noise because it is. It's a bunch of noise going on. And, when you have a lot of noise, it's not clear what's supposed to really be coming out because there's so much noise going around. And then behind the noise, that little heart of love is trying to get through. And some people not letting it through because they're hearing all this other stuff. They're hearing the news. They're hearing the social media stuff. They're showing, every side. They're hearing all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, where's the love? And every time I end my show, I always say we need to heal in this country. And it's going to take people loving each other no matter what. Yeah.
Absolutely. And see, having grown up in a predominantly white community and area, Ohio, we had to interact and intermingle and we had friends from all walks of life, and, coming to like a predominantly Black area like Atlanta, I wasn't used to that. It's such a difference, but love is the key, and it doesn't matter and in terms of our white brothers and sisters, them taking on the ally, becoming allies and advocates, those who embrace us.
Yes.
They need to embrace us for real. And
Yes.
and when they see
Mhm.
racist acts or they hear racist words, they need to call it.
They call,
And
yeah.
they need to be the ones to do it. And so with my white friends, those are some of the conversations that we've had.
Mhm. Yes.
If you support what's happening, because otherwise this country is going to implode.
Oh yes, definitely. And just real quickly, Vera, just I mean, since we're talking about this subject, I want to bring this up, and I think this is a good factor. I'm like you. I grew up in a predominantly mixed neighborhood, and my dad was white. So my dad was white, my mother was black, and I seen everything, good, bad, and ugly with that. But they loved each other, and that's what kept them together through all the fights that they had to go through all when they seen my mother and me, when we go to the banks, when we go to other places, we go to restaurants, and it was a whole. And my dad basically was put out, even though he was white, but he had two black people with him, and they were family,
Wow.
and they would say, well, you can't come, you can't, we don't have enough room. They would have any excuse. I mean, to the point
Oh,
where we would get our first house. I was 10 years old, and my dad was like, we're about to get that first house. He was all like, we all excited. You can have your own backyard. You have your friends coming. He was geeking me up, right? And we get to the bank, and the first thing they asked when we walked in, the security guard said, "Oh, excuse me, young lady, you can't go in the bank without your parents." So my dad looks, and he's like, "That's my daughter.
wow.
I'm her parent." Now, I always tell this story because it always brings me back to the hope part. A white man is claiming about his daughter, and I'm black, he's white, and he said, "I will never, ever let anybody second guess who your dad is and who my daughter is." And he said, "This
Wow.
is what," and this was back in the 70s.
Yeah.
So now we're here 2021, and we're still, tossing all this around. So I always remember that it depends on who it is. Don't take one race and hate it. Don't take no all black race and hate the black race. Don't take all the white race and hate all the white race. Because there are allies, like Vera said. My dad was
Yeah.
one. And there was
Yeah.
a few other, there's a whole bunch of other ones. I
Yeah.
mean, the sad part I think about is that, with him being with my mother, he lost relation with his mother and dad because they didn't believe in that.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and one of his sisters didn't believe in that. So he was kind of aced out of his family because of that. But he kept on moving. So there, even though, he called me that diamond and stuff, even what he was standing for, that's what got me to say, you know what? I don't care how old I get. I had to stand my ground and show that love and show that, no matter who you are, that, I'm here for you. You're here for me if we can be allies together. So, yeah.
And see, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
beautiful. And see, thanks for sharing that because I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of, I can't really tell. I got a lot of my mother's genes.
But wow,
Yeah, but
that's awesome. So, well, let me ask you: have you had since your father has passed? Have you had any connection with with his side of the family?
his brother, my two uncle, he had three brothers, and another one passed too. They keep in contact through social media. We really don't see each other, but one of my things I told myself, I said, I want to, before they even, because they're much older, much older than I am, that I want to take that step of visiting them, just to, just to tell them, how much I mean, I tell them I love them, but being there in person. Because after my father passed, I think there was a lot of things going on at that time where we kind of split. My mother went to the south side of Chicago where, like you said, how the difference between you're in a mixed neighborhood and now you're in predominantly, one race. And then I was taking that slam. Oh, you're Oreo cookie. I mean, I went
Right.
from ugly fat to Oreo cookie to, I mean, I was like, can I get a break?
Right.
one end I'm stupid, the other end I'm an Oreo cookie, and I talk white. So I was like,
Right. 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 I used to get that all the
Oh,
time. Why do you sound so white?
right.
Huh?
Why you sound so proper? I'm
You're
like,
right. Right.
I'm trying to talk.
I got that too. You know, and it wasn't that I was trying to be, but when you grow up in that kind of environment, and I'm sure when you hit that side of Chicago, it was like
Oh,
a cultural shock for you.
oh, I it was so bad, Vera, that when my mother, because my mother was working during the day, so she was, by the time I go to school and came back, she was back home. So I waited, but I would walk because the school was like right around the corner. And she said, "Okay, Barbara, you're okay. You're old enough. You'll be okay. It's just right around the corner, you know." So I was like, "Okay." So I waited for her to go. I walked around, waited for her to go to work, came back, and stayed because I didn't want to go back to school because they were talking about me so bad. And these are my, like they said, my brothers and sisters.
Right. Right.
You know, so I'm like, why
Right.
am I having a problem with this? So either
Yes.
way, it seemed like it was, you know, some issues. But
Yes.
yeah, it's funny how you dealt with the same thing.
Yes.
I said, what?
Yes. And the first time I went to Los Angeles, two things happened. First, seeing all these black people in position, you
Yeah.
know, Tom Bradley was the mayor, so you know how long ago that was. Tom Bradley was the mayor.
Mhm.
Maxine Waters was a young representative.
Mhm. Wow.
Um, Jesse Jackson was doing his
This thing.
rally, and then I
Mhm.
got involved with the Congress of Racial Equality, and
Oh,
that's what that was really cultural shock.
you're like,
I
whoa.
know, you know, because I wasn't used to that, and so it really was. It was, oh my goodness. But
Yeah.
I learned, but it was quite an
It,
experience. And
yes,
see,
it was.
unless you've been there and you can be, you know, people may not be able to relate to that.
I
But
know. And that's why I love talking to you because we found out so much that we have in common. And then you understand, we understand each other about how we had to deal with those certain things. So it's like, either way, I was like, well, which way do I go now? Because I go this
right,
way, they're upset at me. I go that way, they're upset at me. I don't know what
right, right.
to do. So
So
I just told myself, I just got to be me. See, you get to the point, it's like, this is getting tiresome. I just got to be who I am and go from
exactly,
there. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, that's all we can do. Just be ourselves, you
Yes.
know.
Yep.
And so this is great. I'm learning so
Oh,
much more about you. This is so
yeah.
awesome. So now that okay, we talked about several things.
What you said, we've been around the world and back.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad that I mentioned about this racial thing. You know, God leads this show. You know,
Yes,
He directs it. So I thank Him
definitely.
for that. And
Definitely.
what I'd like to know now is tell me about these books. I mentioned it, but
Oh,
tell me about these
yeah.
books.
Yeah. Well, I started, it's been like maybe 3 years ago. My first collective book that I was in, anthology I was in. And it was a mixed book. I mean, you had different, different women and the different races and stuff, which, I was trying to do because I kept telling myself, I want to always reflect the mixture. I don't want to be so much, which in a few books I am with mostly my brothers and sisters, but that's okay. But at the
Yeah,
beginning, I wanted to, be a part of that because I want to reflect all, races. But this particular book was basically dealing with women that went through certain traumas and that, came out of it, and basically telling the, like I call it, the secret sauce of how you went from, this point to this point in life. I have to say, out of all the chapter books that I was in, that one I didn't think it would be, but that was the hardest chapter that I wrote. First, it was hard because that was the first time I just wrote period in a book. I'm not
hmm,
a writer. I tell people, I said, please have an editor on hand because Barbara needs it badly. You need to check all of this because I'm not good at that part. See, when you know what you're not good at, you just get somebody that is good at it. That's a
right.
little tip. But when I wrote it, because I wrote it about my dad, because I wanted to give him reverence. Because, like I said, he's my rock. So I said, well, the first chapter, whatever it's going to be, is going to be about understanding value, understanding where basically where what my foundation came from, why I created the Diamond Factor. So I did the story about him and, me taking the toll of his death. Now, it's been 17. I'm 53 right now. I was 17 years old when it happened. So, they already do the math.
Yes.
They do the
Yes.
math.
Yes.
So I'm thinking I'm good because I tell the story. I mean, I don't have a problem saying it because, like I said, if it helps somebody. But I'm telling you, Vera, when I started writing on paper and pen, I did not know things was going to start coming out that I thought that was okay. So
right. It was cathartic for you.
Yes, very, very. I even told the publisher because I said, "Do we have another week?" Because there's deadlines, as we know, when we do those books.
Right.
And she's like, "It was." I said it was nice because I had. She said, "Yeah." And she said, "It's funny you asked that, Barbara, because a few ladies asked for an extra week. So yeah, you have another week." I was like, "Whew." And that point in time, I had to get myself together. I called a counselor. And this is hopefully it helps other people. Just because something happened a long time ago, something might seep out again that you still might need to go back and do some things to help you get through it. So I called a counselor and I met twice. And I basically was telling him, I said, I'm having a rough time with this chapter in this book with my dad. And she said, well, there's something there, Barb, that you still might be holding on to. And I found out, Vera, that I was holding on to the fact that because when he passed away, it felt like, when somebody passed in your life that's really special and you feel like everybody's supposed to stop, like the whole world's supposed to stop because, this special person in your life. And that's not happening because first of all, people don't know who he is, who they are, whatever. But me being at the age of 17 and upset, because I was more upset than sad at the time, I was pissed because of what happened. And there was never no closure because the person that they thought that did the murder, they let them loose after a year because they didn't have enough evidence.
Wow. Was it that person? Do you believe that was the person that did it?
I believe the person knew who it was.
Okay.
I believe she did it. It was she was supposed to be a girlfriend of his, and basically we found out she was a prostitute. It was bad.
Oh.
She was a prostitute, and she had. So I feel like whoever she was with, prior as came in and maybe was trying to find some money from him and did what they did. Mm-hmm. And she got off after a year because she kept going to court over and over again. So I think that to me, I didn't feel like the closure was there. And then when I started writing it, that popped up again. And that's when my counselor was saying, she said, see, Barbara, you have to, if you deal with that, you got to let it go. You got to see, why you're holding on to this and the closure stuff. She said, you have to give permission to yourself that it might not be the closure you want because it's been all these years and it's kind of you've moved on. So hopefully you moved on from that. So I had to really let that go out of all those years. And I was still, like, okay, I didn't get no closure, and the other closure was, it was a closed casket because he was decomposed 5 days. They found him at his so they couldn't have an open casket. But see, at 17 again, me being, teenager, because I didn't believe that he was in that casket. I kept saying, my father's not there. I mean, for probably 3 weeks, I was thinking he was like away on a vacation and he just couldn't get to, it was all these thoughts in my head because I couldn't believe that he was in that casket. And I told them I wanted an open casket and they said, no. They said, we can't do that. He's too decomposed. I'm like, I kept, just saying it over and over again until my mother, the Sergeant Beckley, came through and she's like, look, crazy girl. She just called me crazy girl. This is not going to happen. Stop it. She was just like, that's how she was. So now I'm mad at her and mad at them. All this is running through my mind. So I think with that happening, and then the fact that I didn't feel I didn't have closure, is that what seeped up again when I was writing my chapter. But I'm so glad that I got through it because I had so many people come back to me and said, Barbara, I am so glad that you put that story in there because they were telling me how they lost certain people and, to, murder and stuff like that. So it really helped them get through it again. So that's why I tell people, you never know who you touch. It could be one person that might have to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And so with that being cathartic for you, you were able to go through that process. Yeah. And forgiveness probably has something to do with it as well.
I had to want to forgive my mother. I had to do that too, because like I said, we had a different relationship. I loved her dearly, and I still do. She passed. It's been 10 years now, but we had this rocky relationship because at the time I started blaming her for my father's death, because I said, well, maybe if you two didn't get a divorce and he was, we were all together, then maybe it wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't have got the girlfriend, the whole snowfall.
Yeah, right.
And, then she was so sorry, so just, on me about everything, like nothing was right. Everything I did, if I got an A, she wanted A plus. I graduated with honors and was on the honor roll. She like, well, what number are you? I said, well, I was number 50. That's it? You should have been number 1. I mean, that's the kind of stuff my mother was doing. I said, I'm in the 50. I'm in the 1 through 50 rank here. She said, that's all you're going to stand for is 50? That's what So that kind of relationship was kind of like, okay, I don't know about this. So we had our things. But again, and I want to say this to your audience too, is no matter what relationship you have, it be with family or friends, please make sure that you can open up to them, have those conversations, because before 3 weeks before my mother passed, we had a really good conversation about how I felt that she didn't love me. I told her, I said, I really didn't feel, I said, Ma, I know you love me because you made sure I was, going to school, clothes on my back, food, all that, she cared. I know she cared in her way, but the way she was saying things and doing things, I was like, why I feel like, you're just not happy with this. And she told me, she said, because I didn't want you to be who I was when I was growing up, because I found that she was sexually, sexually abused. I found out that when she came, because she was from Mississippi to Chicago at the age of 14, they didn't let her go to school because they want her to work, because they said, if you're going to stay in this household, you have to work. You can't go to school. And she wanted, because she didn't have the education, because she wanted to be more than what she was, but she had to sacrifice that because of family. So she told me, she said, I grew up hardcore, and I didn't want you to do that because you don't have an education or because you don't look a certain way. She was just going on. She said, that's why I was hard on you. And I was like, I said, you know what? That may, I understand now. And I told her, I understand where you're coming from. And, people do what they learn. She learned from her parents, so she just kind of took it on, with her parenting. But now that she's gone, I think about, it's funny because all the roughness that she was with me, every time something happens or, I'm going through something or somebody giving me some problems or whatever, I get that little toughness that she has. I'm like, no, I'm going to be like my mother. She said she wouldn't take nothing. So, and I go there because my dad was a soft one. He was like, leave her alone. She's going to be okay. Just love on her. And my mother's like, love on her. She need to make sure she, So it was that. But when hard times come, she pops in my head when I be like, I got to do the Sergeant Beckley.
And it's so wonderful that you had an opportunity to have that conversation with her.
Yeah. And that's why I tell people to do that. Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's so, especially even young people that may have a rocky relationship with their parents. Mm-hmm. I think, and it's hard, but letting the parent know, how they're feeling about what they're going through and teaching them how to express those things. That's a part of what I can do, is help them understand. And, we don't have any control over who our parents are.
No.
We don't have any control. We do have control once we reach accountability to be able to understand that maybe they're that way because of what they've gone through themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, Vera, real quickly. I know with time, that's what I found out.
We got time.
Well, that's what I found out because after she told me about her story, and that's why it's so important. I'm sorry, because my son is kicking in here. So I keep moving. Because of the stories in your life, that's when you find out why people do what they do and say what they say. Now, I'm not saying it's right all the time that they're doing it, but then you understand the why.
Yeah.
And then you give a little bit more of the grace and a little understanding in your own mind to say, oh, my mother did really love me. I mean, she loved me immensely. because she was always on me, making sure that I was doing. I mean, if a person don't love you, they're not going to take that time and that energy and that money and everything and invest it in you. So, at that point in time, I told him, I said, I know you love me, but it seemed like you was just, I told her, I said, I felt like you was disappointed in me when certain things wasn't going right, or if I didn't hit the certain mark or whatever. And she looked at me. Now, this is her. She was 71. She looks at me because she had her glasses. She looked at me. She went like this. What are you talking about? She said, you've been through, and then she just ran through the whole list of stuff that I went through. She said, you got not just 1 degree, Barbara, you have 3 degrees. She said, you've been with the company for over, at that time, it was 15 years. She said, you've been in insurance for over 30 some years. And she said, well, and you think that I'm not proud of you? I said, but you used to always be
right. And she didn't tell you she was proud of you.
She never told me, like that until we had that talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But just think, I know. And that's why I want to encourage my audience, if there's some dissension or some misunderstanding, or if you are thinking one way, but not allowing that other person to share how they're feeling as well. It's so important that you do that, and if you wonder how to do it, there's a scripture that says, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth liberally and upbraideth not. I can't tell you how many times I have literally put my finger on that scripture.
Yes.
And prayed for God to give me wisdom to deal with situations and circumstances. And so if you have a conversation that you need to have, like what Barb had with her mom, pray for wisdom. Yeah. And also pray, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. Those things are important, and he'll give it to you.
Yes.
He'll give it to you.
The right time. Yeah, and then also add in there if you can take them out to dinner or lunch too.
Yes.
Because that's what I did.
Yes.
I took her to a really good, lovely restaurant that she loved. We had that conversation.
Good point. Get out of the environment. Yes. Go into neutral territory. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Barb, this has been so much. I can't believe an hour is almost gone.
I know. I feel like I've been talking to my sister.
And now we are sisters.
Thank you. And I feel like that. And Vera, I just want to congratulate you for what you do. I mean, I know you brought me on the show to interview me, but I had to do it because I think that you're amazing and you're awesome. And I just want to say, whatever you need, I'm putting it right out there. Whatever you need me to support you with, advertise, promote what you're doing with your mission, I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
Thank you, and same here. Well, we're gonna stay connected. I have no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be stalking you in a good way. In a good way.
Well, I love you, and I really appreciate you coming on today. And I'm going to leave parting words. Well, you know what? Let me pull this up. I wrote this for the Power Up conference, but I think it's very fitting for this show because we've talked about queens and what have you. So I'm going to end with this. And I honor you. So we honor you, the kings and queens that you are. We acknowledge the struggles and the triumphs that make you a shining star. As you proclaim your faith in God, thanking him for bringing you this far, we value and appreciate, respect, and celebrate all the contributions you make. There is no mistake. The impact on the many lives you touch and the trails you continue to blaze. Be thankful and amazed. You are the example the world needs to see. As you build your businesses with grace and integrity, your legacy, Barb, will stand as a testament of true liberty. You are the change to advance our society. Forge forward and upward as you continue to live your dreams.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you, and
Love you.
I just we'll be back in touch.
Yes,
Okay.
we will. Yes, we will, Queen.
Okay.
Thank
Now
you
I'm
so
gonna
much.
close. I'm gonna close this out, but don't go anywhere. Okay.
Okay.
Don't leave yet.
Okay.
Okay. Listen, thank you all for sharing and being a part of this podcast. Share it with other people because we have some wonderful nuggets that we gave you today. And I just again want to thank you for being here. And I will see you next week.
The Vera Thomas Show. 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 Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera.
Bye.